team was December 2025, and I'm back into the hills with a relatively capable body. Just plenty of time in the gym lately, just rehabbing. We've also taken a break away from the camera. Just, if you do any of the YouTube stuff, you know what I'm talking about. It gets a bit tiresome after years and years and years of doing it. And I've also taken a bit of a break from social media, so Facebook, Instagram, I'm not on it anymore. Really been enjoying it. About half this year I've been off it, and I might continue to be off it. It's just, yeah, I just really enjoy it. Less noise. I don't need more motivation. I've already got big enough fire in the belly, which Facebook and Instagram usually gives me a lot more motivation. So it's been really good. But nonetheless, hey, on this mission, I have walked in about 6-7 hours searching on the true left, true right of this valley, which I haven't been into in about 11 years, so a long time between drinks, but awesome valley, a few chamois about. Anyway, I was walking up valley, looked up a side creek, and then there was this chamois in the creek. Looked at it, I was like, oh, doesn't look too bad. Horns are about twice the length of the ears, had good hook, was by itself, especially this time of year, you gotta be a little bit careful. Kids running around, so watched it. I was like, nah, all right, I think he's good. Anyway, lined up 240 yards, made the shot, and managed to land a 10-inch buck. How good? Here we go. Absolutely wrapped, absolutely wrapped. It was just a week and a half ago, shot a couple reds to help fill a mate's freezer. So now it's my turn to take some chamois meat home and a nice mento after a good 3 years of hard work to try and find a third 10-inch chamois. Finally done it. How good. Sweet as. Right, gonna crack on. As I'm butchering the chamois up, I thought I'd just show you how I do the back steaks. It's nice and clean. I go west to east or east to west. So you just make a little cut there near the shoulder blade. There's a hip bone down here, make a cut, and then I just peel it away from the spine. Nice and clean. Really helps preparing the meat when you're at home, and then you can enjoy those nice juicy steaks. I'm over on the coast, about to walk out after 4 days in the hills. Been really enjoyable. Seen plenty of chamois. Deer have been hard to come by. Epic views. Done some hard yards. Got absolutely beasted on day one. Just soaked. Massive climb. Yeah, it was character building, but that's what Westland's all about. But I thought I'd just run you through my, I guess, principles of glassing. See if they might help you, but it's just what I do when I'm on the glass. So there's two main principles that I follow. The first one is angles. So I'm really big on you work the angles. So you got vertical and horizontal angles, or folds as they're often referred to. And so it's all about, for me, working those angles. And sometimes it's, yes, you can just sit in one spot and the terrain is, you know, your position is good enough to have a good field of view so you can kind of see any animals in the area. But what I really like to do is actually work the angles, whether it be going up or down, side to side. So that way you just uncover new country, because you often find, especially like if you're up high, there's a lot of vertical folds that you can't see, so you have to work the country. And that way, you know, you're just giving it the best possible chance to uncover any animals in the area, rather than just sitting still. And you know, there could be an animal in a fold 100 meters to your left, but you wouldn't know it unless he decides to, or she decides to feed out of that gut, and sometimes they don't. So I find it really effective to work the country and get yourself into the best possible position so that you can have the best field of view to uncover any animals in the area. So yeah, angles, big one for me. The next one I really like is I run a bit of a circuit. So I identify all the main, like spurs, ridge lines, faces, guts, just areas of interest. And so then I just go right to left or left to right, working that country, and just, you know, systematically going through it, downloading a mental map. And the more, as I go through it and that mental map gets clearer and clearer, what I find is really effective is, as you're going through that I guess, yeah, that country, anything that's new that pops into that country, then you should identify it pretty quick. I do, because you've got that mental map, you know what's there already. So if something new comes into it, it stands out. And so yeah, it's really good. Just before I was glassing this whole country, been doing it like half an hour, and then I done my circuit, started my circuit again, and then a chamois popped up in the country. So yeah, it just goes to show you just keep doing that circuit, and then when something stands out like a yellow chamois up high, then yeah, it's easy enough to uncover. So that's a big one for me. So yeah, run that circuit, download that mental map, so if anything new pops in, then yeah, you know there's an animal there, and it's not a bush deer or a tussock deer or something like that. You know, that can happen. So yeah, you can eliminate all those human errors of our eye. But nonetheless, so yeah, so angles and circuit. And for me, I just love glassing. It's probably my favorite part of hunting, just being in this big country, working it with the glass. I just absolutely love it, and I believe that it's an art form. To get really, really good at it, you need to be disciplined, persistent, and just keep doing the reps, and eventually you uncover all the animals. And such a good feeling when you get into a country, you're glassing, and then you're uncovering all the animals, and every now and then you spot a goodie, gets the old blood pumping. It's just my favorite part of hunting, and that's why I'll never use thermals on public conservation land, because I believe it just, not only does it take away from the art form, but also just takes away a lot of the fun of hunting, is trying to use the glass to find animals. I'm just not into thermals. Hey, they're legal, do what you want, all good, but for me, I'll never use them. Nonetheless, anyway, summarize, angles and running a circuit are two main things I use for glassing. So anyway, hopefully that kind of shines a light, especially for the younger hunters. Yeah, do that. Hopefully, yeah, you see more animals and have more success. Well, it's the first week of Feb and I have walked in about 5 hours into some awesome deer country and seen heaps of animals. Been amazing last 24 hours, really cool. Even sighted an amazing encounter with a really nice stag in the scrub as I was punching out through the scrub, and I was following a deer trail which I know because I've been to this area before, which then leads to my campsite, which is about 30 meters from where the deer trail ends, yeah, to the campsite. Anyway, as I popped out, bloody good stag popped up. He was only 30 yards away and my rifle's on my pack. It was Flap City and he managed to get away, but if I had my rifle slung, then yeah, he would have been in trouble. But no, it was an awesome encounter. But the whole day was awesome, just seeing heaps of nice stags, plenty of middle-aged stags, very few hinds in this area as well, so it really seems to be kind of that summer stag country. I already know that, but it's just awesome to see. Good to see a bit more age in this area, but nonetheless, had the whole day. I was glassing away, and then it's getting late. I needed some water, so packed up, heading back towards camp, and then I sidle across the face looking for some water. And then as I'm sidling, I'm looking down into the scrub, and then as I look down, I see this fella. He's just staring straight at me. And I was like, oh shit. So then I just back up in a straight line, because the worst thing you can do if a deer spots you is go laterally. So straight line, slow, get to dead ground, and then I boosted to the left, tried to get to this high feature that was above him as he was in the scrub, but then that had scrub on it, so it was really hard to get a shooting position. And so then once I was in position, I had to sit down, elbows on both knees, and then line him up. It was about 100 yards. Made a really good shot. Stag down, how good. Nice 7-year-old stag, heaps of character, not super long, but man, awesome tops. But I've always wanted a representative. Oh, what are you doing there, mate? Get out of it, boy. Boy, get out of it, boy. Boy, get out of it, boy. But yeah, no, it was an awesome bit of luck, and how bloody good to get a nice mature stag from this country that I've hunted for years and never pulled anything out. So I'm absolutely wrapped. And then the last 10 hours, it's just been absolutely raining cats and dogs. Hopefully that should clear in about 6 hours, and then tomorrow, gonna do a nice big circuit, see if I can find another mature animal. But I just love this country, so good. Well, that ends a 9-day mission, Southern Alps, lots of Ks, lots of climbing, lots of animals seen. No, it was an epic trip. I always feel a great sense of accomplishment at the end of these big trips, knowing how hard I work. I really do try and uncover as many animals as I can just through pure hard work. It's certainly a lot of up and down, which you don't see on the camera, but nonetheless, made it down through the bush after a couple hours on the flats. Only got a couple hours back to the car and then on to the next one. Sweet as. There you have it. Nice mature stag. How good. Absolutely wrapped, but gutted at the same time. If you can see this country, it is so unbelievably steep. When I shot him, yeah, he sacked straight away, like it was a steep ass shot, and then he's just rolled and rolled and rolled down a few bluffs. The main beams are good, but yeah, both brows and one tray's broken. I've had a look for them, but can't find them yet. But I've got another 2 days up my sleeve, so I'll probably go make camp after do all the butchery and everything, and then I'll come back tomorrow and just slowly grid search it, because it looks like they're pretty clean breaks, so hopefully it should be nice and obvious. But I guess story time. So I've walked in about 4 hours, done about 1100 meters of climbing. Anyway, I've identified this area before from the other side of the valley, so I've been glassing it. So when I came over this side, I knew how to glass it. So I got to my vantage point, so I climbed up, I down climbed 200 meters. The reason for that is really steep in here, so you kind of got to open it up as best you can. Man, it absolutely worked perfectly. So down climbed to where I was gonna set up camp and my main vantage point, and I was glassing away down across and then back towards the good country that I thought they'd be in, like the real steep stuff. Like the camera won't do it justice, but it is so unbelievably steep in here. So anyway, I got to the vantage point, glassed over, and then like almost instantly spotted this nice mature stag. And so what I did is I assessed some rock features, so that would be my point of insertion, or that point of origin where I go to set up my shooting position, or at least see if I can find them. So what I did is I actually went higher than I originally thought, just to give me a bit of margin, just because I knew there's so many folds in there, it'd be better to have a bit of height. And so Yeah, did that, went high, silo across down, and then like 15 seconds, found him. He was 57 yards away. It's really, really tricky to get a shot because it's like 45 plus degree stuff in here. And so, yeah, he fed, boom, sacked him, and then he's just like tumbled all the way down. Oh no. But I know taxidermists can fix this up because this is probably my best West Coast stag. But yeah, I've hunted on the coast for ages, and this is the best one I've ever pulled out of the coast, so it's a personal best. How bloody good, how bloody good, so wrapped. Right, got to do the admin. And the hundies climb back up while I'm looking for those brow and tray tides. How good. Well, I'm on another mission. I've got 7, 8, maybe 9 days in this block. I've got 10 plus days worth of food in case of emergency. My pack's about 33, 34 kgs. And I'm just about to begin the 1300 meter climb all the way to the tops. And then I should be on the tops for the next 5, 6 days because the weather is absolutely mint. And I've slogged in already about 5 hours. So yeah, certainly having a feed. It's going to be brutal, this climb, absolutely brutal. But all you got to do is break it down, crack on, just enjoy it. Bit of a sit rep, and it's day 4 on this trip, and it has been bloody hard work trying to find animals. I've seen 3, so 2 hinds, 1 young stag who's not quite nice but very young. I have glassed and glassed and glassed so much country, and I always knew there would be a risk of the venison recovery boys putting a damper on this trip, and here's an example. I don't know why they just took the back stakes and back legs. It's a bit odd, but yeah, a few gut bags there and there. I'm sure as I walk along this ridge I'll probably find more, but man, it's been so hard trying to find animals. I guess you just got to keep searching, work hard, glass, and then maybe you might find something special, but a bit gutting. Classic southwesterland, eh? Almost at the highest bit of altitude I'll be for the trip, Mount Swindle. Oh, bit of a grind. She's just there, summit top. Cracking day. Southwestland at its finest. How bloody good. Looking forward to a chalky biscuit on the summit and just soak up those views. Man, it's just unreal. That stag's been going hard last couple of days. There's a stag just below him. And he's definitely like FA. FO. I think the young stag's got the message. It's pretty funny. Probably just he's a 4-year-old 10-pointer, a little bit narrow, but a bit more time, could be something good. Old mate's back. He's taken over the wallow. He's got a bit of aura to him. That young stag didn't even throw a punch. Just one look and he walked. There's old No Nuts. Fair enough. Oh, shame, bro. Getting that middle finger salute. Unlucky use. Yeah, walk of shame, bro. On your bike. So I'm just going to walk you through the route I took over my 9-day Wapiti trip. So started at Worsley's Hut, followed the trap line along the true left, pretty much hugs the river, along the flats to the confluence of the castle, and there's a really nice campsite on the true left of the castle. You cross over, it's an easy crossing there, and then you cross back over to the true right of Worsley Stream, follow the trap line all the way along here. Just one little note, back around here there's a flat, it opens up, you got to chuck a hard left for a good 100 meters, and then you'll find flagging tape, so you can go wrong. I think it's around here. So yeah, you go up and then it kind of goes through the scrub a little bit. It's a bit rough, but then it gets better. Anyway, then you come along back onto the flats, following the trap line, get to terminus, still staying on the true right, up, and then once you get to Prospect, it starts to climb, kind of does this line, crosses over 2 streams. There's some rope to assist in crossing one of the streams, the second one. Anyway, it goes up, then it drops down slightly, follows the stream again on the true right, all the way to bog clearing. You get to here. Now this can be a little bit tricky because there is some like decoy flagging tape that goes to trap lines. So yeah, it can be a little bit tricky at times. And then from there, yeah, cross the bog clearing. And then I got to the forks. And then I followed the trap line to here where it crosses over. And then from there, it's untracked. And then so I followed up the north branch of the Worsleys, zigzagging. And then when I got to about here, the travel got really, really bad. Just huge boulders and bush and things. So you're constantly sidling and going back and forth and jumping into the riverbed from there. Then you're up. And here it got real niggly. It was really, really slow and painful, super cold. And then you kind of follow just on the true left of the stream up into here, and it gets a lot easier. Climb up, and then you come up into this basin. Once you're up into the basin, the best thing to do is to cross straight away, because there's like house-sized boulder, huge scrub, and crevasses and things. So you just cut straight across, and you try and get to the tussock faces over here. And then from there, it's relatively straightforward, and then you kind of stay on the true right of that stream. And then I think you cross around here once you get the chance. Gets a little bit easier. And then there's a good line, you'll see it, and it goes to this little dip here. And then you're at the saddle of the right branch of the Bernard Burn. And so from there I went up, climbed up, and started to look into the Dark River. Down climbed to just east of spot height 1380, camped around here, glassed all this country, saw very few animals. The main animals I saw were around here, so I saw one probably 3-year-old bull, and then a few cows and hinds, about 3 of them in here. Very, very low numbers. Anyway, so from there, traverse back along, climb down, and then from here, instead of climbing up to spot height 1442, what I did is there's a nice contour along here, just at the base of it, and then you go to spot height 1295, and then it's really easy from there. Follow along, and then there's a nice game trail, very steep. You don't want to stuff up. So there's a game trail that goes down to this coal, and so you drop down there, and then from there you really want to avoid the southeast side of spot height 1446. So once you get to this coal, you sidle on an angle, and you'll see it, and the idea is that you're trying to get into this gut that is on the northwest side of 1446, and then you go down this coal, which it's steep, but it's very doable. It's not gnarly in terms of Fiordland standards, and then drop down to this basin, and then I climbed up to this coal, the spot height 1115, down climb to the pass, and then from the pass you kind of want to stay to the west, southwest for 10-15 minutes. There's some really good game trails that then lead you to the Worsley's Rock Biv, so spend tonight there, And then from the rock biv, if you can get into it, a little bit tricky to get into, but once you get into it, you realize straight out the gate, there's a nice game trail or trail that leads out for the rock biv, and you go out to this feature here. It's a bit of a high point, and then it drops down into the left branch of the burn and burn. Anyway, so there, and then had my night, and then the next day, my plan was to go from the rock bivvy down climb, and then there's a route that goes up here to the ridge line that separates the wild natives and the left branch of the burn and burn. Anyway, as I was going along here, I was about here, and I was actually dropping down. Then the Wapiti Foundation came in on the 19th of May, and they just started arcing up the hillside. So they were shooting all in here, and then they shot a couple in here as well, and then they shot another one on this ridge line. So I was extremely gutted, and I feel for the boys. If there's any boys around Tahiki, Saddle, if you're around there, I guarantee you would have seen them, because that's where they were flying in and out of. Obviously, they had a collection point for the deer that they shot. There's quite a few shots that rang out. Anyway, I was very disappointed. So what I then did is I was like, right, you just got to make the best of a worst scenario, or try to make something out of it. So I then went from the rock bivvy, went all the way along down Wolseley's Pass. So you stay on the true left, kind of hugging this tussock line, and then you get into the bush. It is bouldery and awkward, and it's not very nice. I made a few little riverbed kind of crawls, so you can drop into the riverbed and do a bit of boulder hopping. So yeah, follow on the true left. Does get a little bit steep towards the end here, but there's a good game trail towards the bottom, staying on the true left. And then I found the old trap line that goes up the north branch, which is kind of seems like it's been discontinued. And then you cross back over, get back to the really good established trap line on the true right. And then I followed that all the way along Worsley Stream, same route as I came in, all the way down. It was a big day. I think it was a good 7-8 hours from the bivvy to the Castle River confluence, and then stayed at the campsite. And then from there, cross back over. Now the trap line for the Castle River is on the true right. And it is a little bit difficult to follow because most of the orange triangles face up valley. So the way that the foundation obviously does it, and I actually met some people doing the trap line on the way out, that they get dropped at the head at different points and they all kind of come down. So it's very easy to follow on the way down, but hard to follow on the way up. Anyway, on the true right, follow it up, kind of goes along through here, gets to the clearings, and then kind of hugs there, and then you're into the clearings. Really nice clearings through here, lots of sign, mainly cows and hinds, not much stag sign or bull sign. And then yeah, you follow the trap line a little bit, then it crosses over, and then you follow on the true left, follow. And then I camped up here and ride out some rough weather, the stream, and then I climbed up to the tops using the spur. It was really good to about here, and then it got really steep, but doable, so really steep. And then I punched out just at the bottom where the tussock comes in. And then from there, as you go up, contour slightly across to the southwest, and then you go up this little gut past this bluff feature here, and then climbed up, camped around the 1300 meter contour, and then traversed along, looked into this basin here, looked down here. The only animals I saw were 2 hinds and 1 2-year-old stag. Seen a whole heap of probably January-ish gut bags, a good dozen of them around here. Then saw nothing. I also glassed in here. This looked like really good country. The bluff, lots of scrub, feed, but real steep in places. So glassed that, glassed here, glassed there, glassed this, almost like, yeah, it's a bit of a cascading waterfall. I was able to glass up a bit further on some of these clearings down below. Did see 1 cow in the morning down on the flats, otherwise didn't see much. So then you down climb, same route as before. It took me 2.5 hours to descend, and then same again, follow the trap line, crossed over down to the confluence, and then back towards the stream. So I think from the tops here, I left at 8 in the morning, and then I got to the hut around 3:34. Yeah, 3:34. So a reasonable day from there, but not, not massive. So anyway, that's my trip report from 9 days in Wapiti Country from the 15th of May through to I think it was about the 24th, 23rd. It was about 23rd of May. Just adding to that Wapiti trip in 26 is I saw very few animals. I saw about 12 hinds and cows, and then 3 stag bulls. Nothing over 4 years old. So it was very hard going. I worked extremely hard. So I'm going to detail another trip I did in 2024, just to kind of paint a picture before I talk about my next topic. So I'm then just going to zoom out, and I went over to the Wapiti River. It's a good start to this one. It really gets you going. So with my little inflatable boat, you park at Lake Tiano there, and then you've got to unload your boat, deconstruct it, and then carry it over in loads over to Lake Hankinson. Now, if I was doing well and I had my loads sorted and I really pushed it, I could do it in 3. So you're back and forth in 3 loads. But I've done that. I've done it twice. Did it in 23 as well. And so, yeah, it's hard work going back and forth with the boat. Yeah, outboard engine, everything. So much easier just to jump across, get a pack raft and paddle. Much easier. Anyway, so then, yeah, boat across Lake Hankinson. And then you get to the hut, or the start of the track, and then you go to the hut. And then on this trip, so this is again May 2024, you go along to the wire bridge, and then from there you don't cross, you just go through the bush, you cross the stream of Canyon Creek, and then you go up this spur on the true right, and then you follow it to about the 600-meter contour line, and you go across, and then there's essentially like a gut or a stream, and you go on the true left of that, and it drops down. It's somewhere in here. It's very steep to start with, very steep, and you drop down, but it is absolutely doable. And then it's only steep for the first top bit, but you want to be on the true left of this kind of like steep creek. Yeah, you get to it. It's the only option. In 23, I went back and forth. I couldn't find it, but eventually I was able to find it, and then I dropped down. And then once you're into Canyon Creek, it's all good. So then on this trip, so again, 24, went along, follow Canyon Creek, and then I punched up. And here I just found a game trail, and I punched up along. And then you really wanted to avoid in here, so that's where I blew my arms out. If you've watched any of my previous film, couldn't climb through the scrub. It was not that much. So then I sidled across, and then it was steep but doable up here. And I climbed up to the saddle, looked into Austral, and then from there climbed up, traversed across to spot height 1362, going along, and then don't climb up spot height 1506. What you want to do is then sidle below it, and then you follow this kind of line through here, just navigate, very steep, but you just navigate your way through, drop down, and then there's deer trails, and then in there. And it was while I was in here that the Wapiti Foundation shot a hind. This was the 10th of May, or around there. They shot a hind, a red hind that I saw a couple of days prior in here. They then flew it over the top of me, and then flew through this coal into the Luga burn, and obviously then buzzed all the tops, because as I'll show you my next route, I didn't see any animals for the next couple of days for obvious reasons. So from there, there's a beautiful coal that you go up into here, and then you go out the back of it. Now super steep out the back for a bit, so you definitely don't want to slip. And then there's this nice little spur, go along, and then you climb up here. And this is, in one of my films, if I said it looks cold, it is cold. That's where I was getting smoked up there. Unbelievably cold, horrible. Climb up to spot height 1491, and then I went out the back here to spot height 1389, had a look into all this country, into here, seen a few animals, not huge amounts. Yeah, and 2, 3, there's a nice route if you want to cross over. So you go up here, and there's a really nice game trail that's slightly on an angle, kind of towards spot height 1255, and then once you're on that ridge line, you go along, and then and then yeah, over to, I guess, what they call that, Massacre Gully, or the left branch of the Wapiti River. So anyway, back to my route for 2-4. So I was at spot height 1389, traversed all the way along, go along this gnarly bloody ridge line. It's spicy in places, and spot height 1312 down, climb back up. I think from here, from memory, you sidle more across. You don't need to climb all the way up, but there is a really exposed section here. So just this little contour line, but there's a game trail that goes through it. I saw on the Hunters Club, they actually use rope to navigate this section, because yeah, you absolutely don't want to slip. And from there, you go along this main ridge line, it's fine, but you don't want to look left or right. And then climb up to 1304. This is where around this area is where a famous bull got shot in recent times. I won't say which, but most people know which one it was. And then from there, it's pretty straightforward. Follow it down into the bush. There is one little niggly bit in here where there's like a bluff band. I think it's just here. So that bit is a little bit tricky, so you might reach it, and then especially if you're coming up. And then so down climb, follow it through there. I then went to Lake Thompson Hut, rode out some bad weather, and then I went back up, and I was heading for Rum Gully. So the route to Rum Gully is you get to the track about here, and then you just sidle through the bush. It's all good. There's game trails. It's relatively open. Sidle, and then yeah, you kind of hit the riverbed, or the river, and then follow on the true right, and then you get to Rum Gully. And so once you're at Rum Gully, from memory, I think you cross over, follow along on the true left, up, and it gets to a point where you cross back over, you follow that. But I think you can either or, like true left, true right. I do know once you get to a point up here, you do want to be on the true right. So once you're getting to these clearings that everyone goes to, you stay on the true right. There's a really good game trail that goes through the bush there. And then once you're on the clearings, then you hunt around there, and then there's relative campsites. They would not be flood proof. You'd want to be careful of those heavy rain. It's kind of that country that doesn't drain. But yeah, hunted in there. I had a really interesting encounter where there was kind of 5, 6 cows at the head of it, and then there was 2 bulls just like barking at each other for an hour. It was very interesting. And so yep, hunted there, and then back down Wapiti River, Lake Thompson Hut, follow along the track, back to Lake Hankinson, boat across, and then do the 3 loads, and then back out. So that was 2-4. Huge mission again. I think it was about 10 days, and yeah, really put out. On that trip, same again, saw very few animals. I didn't see anything over 4 years old. Again, highly disappointing, especially with the venison recovery occurring so shortly after the ballot finished. I think that really affected me seeing any deer on the tops around the Luger burn, but it is what it is. But I'll talk about the recovery stuff and my opinions on it in a sec. Cool, so hopefully if you're after any route information, there's a load of it in there for Wapiti hunters in the future. All good. Time to talk about venison recovery. Now, I'll first start by saying I do walk a lot of country, so I get to see a lot. I get to see how healthy the bush is, what the herd health is like, what a number's like, what's the balance between wildlife and the ecosystem that they live in, each third of the bush, what health that's in, what the browsing rate is like, how much feed is there, what's the understory like, is there much regrowth. I get to see a lot of that, and I get to see a lot of it in areas where there is a lot of venison recovery, and what are the byproducts of regular operations from the sky. So you got lots of recovery work, changes deer behavior. So you'll get deer either going nocturnal, or instead of being on the tops and they can spread out their impact in terms of browsing, they'll just hang in the scrub in that top third, especially in summer, and then just chew it out. So not great for that. Or they go right down and they just live in the valley floor and chew that out, which is very common in Wapiti Country. So, which I'll talk about in a sec. So yeah, you got, say, along the west coast of the South Island, venison recovery goes real hard, especially when prices are high. Completely changes the herd dynamic, and there's a massive flow-on effects. Ultimately, there's huge conflict with recreational hunters, which is why I'm talking about this, because there is huge conflict between recreational hunters and commercial interests of venison recovery. And understandably, there's nothing recreational hunters can do, even though the Game Animal Council talks about, hey, this is one of our main focus points. We want to try and reduce the conflict, but you really don't see much happening because there's just too much money involved, and money is the root of all problems, or evil. I'll try not to use evil because it's a bit of a harsh word, but it is the root of all problems. So where there's money, there's problems, and there's going to be conflict. So yeah, you got that. You then got areas where there is no venison recovery. So say like the Lake Sumner recreational hunting area. And in there, you've got another issue where there's too many deer and the browsing rate's too high, and there's actually significant damage in there. Now, fair play to the likes of the deer stalkers who are trying to do more management hunts in those areas, but it's still not enough. So it's kind of like, well, you still need venison recovery as a tool to manage deer throughout the whole country. And then you go to the Wapiti Foundation, where it's somewhat regulated, and so they don't target the mature animals that are valued, or the mature males, and they target the hinds and the cows. But from my experience, what that does is it just takes all the deer off the tops, including the males, and then just pushes them all down to the scrub top third. And if you've ever been in Wapiti Country, most of the sign is in that bottom third of the bush. So you got that, like, for every action is a reaction. So you got intensive venison recovery, even though it's regulated, it still changes deer behavior and the recreational hunting experience as a result. So I'll just lay that out first. Now moving on to my second area of venison recovery. And again, I just want to emphasize the point that venison recovery is a tool that's needed by recreational hunters to manage a huge area of public conservation land. So it's an absolute tool. And in an ideal world, we could all work together. We could reduce the issue of money being the root of all problems and actually have some really healthy herds that are producing both healthy male and female animals for everyone to enjoy. Doesn't matter what you're into and what your goals of hunting or what your needs and wants are. It doesn't matter. Everything's at the top level, so there should be no complaints. But that will probably never happen. So I'm going to focus on where could we potentially reduce the conflicts. And this is going to relate to the Fiordland Wapiti Foundation. So I'll start by saying, obviously I've supported the Wapiti Foundation through articles I've written in Rod and Rifle, always spoken highly of them. I love the trap works that they do. Amazing amount of wildlife that you see when you venture into Wapiti Country, especially native. It's amazing. I really love it. Like, that trap line system's obviously working. Very similar kind of results, I would say, to if you've done any tramping or hunting, say in the Taipo, Arahura sticks, where Igel and Doc, mainly Igel, what a lad, 1 hour lad, he has been in that valley for a number of years, checking the traps, servicing them and everything. And what you get in there is great field numbers. There's kiwi, and it's really, really great Doc trap system set up that's producing fantastic results. So you got that. So again, Wapiti Foundation love all that. They do the similar thing. They then do a lot of venison recovery, which I understand that probably Doc and then now looking at the herd of special interests, have probably set them deer recovery targets that they need to hit to maintain their validity as a foundation, especially going in as a herd of special interests. There's obviously KPIs there that they'll need to hit. So it's like, yep, understand what those numbers are, and they've got to do their best to do that. So, and then you add in venison recovery is tricky in Fiordland because the weather dictates a lot of when you can do it. So there's sometimes limited fine weather windows. So you then go, well, if there's fine weather windows, they got to try and do it as much as they can. You then got winter when the snow hits the tops, and then all the deer get pushed down. They're well off the tops, and then it's really hard to recover or shoot the deer. And I've heard on podcasts where they talk about trying to shoot them through the canopy because the snow loads the canopy and then opens it up a little bit. So they've tried that, but again, very difficult. So your prime venison recovery time is definitely late spring into summer, and then when they stop shooting on the 1st of March, 3 weeks before the ballot period. So that's kind of the window there. Then I look at going, okay, I understand all that. Then I go, all right, when can you hunt in Fiordland without any venison recovery? And if you do the maths and you figure it out, first off, you can't hunt in the Wapiti area from the 31st of December through to the 1st of March. Now, I'm going to touch on that later in this discussion. So then the only time you can hunt without venison recovery in Wapiti Country is from, I think it's around 23rd, 24th of March. Again, depending on the year, might change, through to, I think it's about the 28th of April. So there's roughly, I think there's a 40-day period. So 4 10-day ballots that people pay for. So you got Kiwis who are successful paying $320 to go into a ballot block during the bugle. And then you got overseas hunters that are paying $1,000 to go into a ballot block during the bugle. So there's only 40 days in a year where you can hunt it without waro, or wild animal recovery operations. As soon as the ballot finishes, now I know this for a fact because I was talking to a local on my last trip, and as soon as the ballot finishes and the first good weather window presents, old mate in his R44 will be straight into Wapiti Country, arcing up the hillside. Now, I've experienced it twice now, and is it extremely disappointing to experience, especially the latest one where that was an accumulative 20 plus hours of walking, and then I was searching, I couldn't find anything. So you just got to keep cracking on and keep looking. And so I did that. And then I got to the point where I was near the Warsies Rock Biv, and then the Wapiti Foundation turned up and just arced up the country, and obviously it was game over there. There has to be more hunters that have experienced what I've experienced, because this is the second time now out of 4 trips that I've experienced venison recovery not long after the ballot finishes. So I guess my first point is, how is that fair that only the ballot hunters get to experience Wapiti Country without the threat of venison recovery? Like, how's that fair? So my first solution or suggestion to the Wapiti Country would be no waro or venison recovery in May. So there's a grace period from the 1st of March through to the 1st of June. That's a 3-month window out of 9 months where there's no venison recovery. So it allows guys that don't get a ballot like myself I've tried for 5 years now, haven't got one, next year will be 6, to have a good Wapiti hunting experience without the threat of venison recovery, because all they do is they just clear the tops out, and then you go and hunt the tops and you don't see anything. Then there's the aspect of it just ruins the experience because you're working so hard and the animal's already gone. So I just don't see it fair that only ballot hunters that pay either $320 or $1,000 to enter, plus all the travel, get to experience the full package of Fiordland without having it completely ruined with venison recovery. Like, in 2024, that flyby that they did, and obviously they went through the coal that I was going through as I detailed in the map, I did all that hard work for nothing. So it's like all this time and effort, and you're just like, you're not seeing anything. So yeah, no waro me. The other thing you can do is, for the Wapiti Foundation, at a bare minimum, on your website, just have an area. It doesn't need to be on Facebook or anything like that, just on your website somewhere. People can easily go to it, and you can give a forewarning as to when you're going to do the venison recovery. If it's straight after the ballot, when and where you're going to do it. You don't need to be like exact, like this spot height or this face, but just give guys heads up. So for me, I don't drive down 8.5 hours, boat in an hour, and then walk 20 plus hours, and then you guys have already bombed up the hillside, and I'm just walking around as a tramper, essentially looking for ghosts. So that would be another solution to the problem, because ultimately what I'm trying to do through this talk is reduce the conflict between recreational hunters, which I thought the Wapiti Foundation is all for, because it was, you know, established and then funded by recreational hunters. So you guys can absolutely control when the venison recovery happens, because I'll go back to my earlier point. You've banned hunting from the 31st of December through to the 1st of March. So you can do that. And during that time, the venison recovery guys, they just shoot the crap out of all the hinds and the females. So here's another one. Why not make a permit during that time for hunters to be able to go in there and shoot the females only, and say, maybe you can make it in the bottom third, because that's where so many of them are. So then you're getting conservation outcomes from both recreational hunters and commercial interests. So we're all working together, rather than it's just like an exclusive club just for the venison recovery operator to go in there and shoot throughout there. And then recreational hunters left like, oh, where can I go hunt? Oh, there's other areas. Oh, but it's been 10A to thing. Because I talked to a local and he expressed this concern, and I fully agreed with him. So you could make in the permit, you could be like Fish and Game, where there's a hard fine if you go in there and shoot a male. You could lose your firearms license. There could be a massive fine, say, I don't know, 10 grand or something, because Fish and Game have got really strong laws or penalties if you break the law and fishing outside your permit or taking too much or whatever it may be. So you could have something like that to mitigate any of the ruckus behavior of people trying to go in there and shoot bulls and then hide them and do different things. But it just makes no sense that venison recovery can go on during that time, but recreational hunters can't, and they can't even help manage the numbers, because there's so many flats and different slips in the lower third of the valley where recreational hunters could be of real use during that time, especially over summer when there's huge traffic. So that would be my suggestion. So all three, to reduce conflict between recreational hunters and venison recovery in the Wapiti area, which is absolutely feasible and can be done. It just comes down to, are recreational hunters a priority, or do commercial interests take more priority than recreational hunters? So no venison recovery in May. Have an online alert system where people can go to and see when and where the recovery work is going to occur. And then the last one would be, during that close down period of no males being shot from the 31st of December through to the 1st of March, you allow female only shooting in, say, the bottom third of the valley, to allow locals and other people to go in there and do their bit for conservation to manage the breeding population that is just chewing out that bottom third. And then that again bridges that connection with recreational hunters. It gives a little bit more respect back and doesn't just create this exclusive club where only ballot hunters that pay the money get to have that full Fiordland package. But, you know, with all that being said, I love what they do. I fully respect the hours that they put in. I just want to see a little bit being given back towards recreational hunters. Just want to say one last thing. I am absolutely open to being wrong, because I don't know all the facts and details of the political stuff, the policy stuff, bureaucracy, the legals, the ins and outs behind the scenes. I don't know all that. I only know what I know. So if the current model is the only way to go forward, I'll take it on the chin and just accept, hey, the only time you can have the full experience is during the ballot. Hey, is what it is. I'll just crack on, hunt elsewhere, and then hopefully after 6-7 years, I get a ballot. Anyway, I wanted to really finish this film on a positive note because I love optimism, I love positivity, and I think it's really important. I hate egos. I genuinely hate egos. And I think it's so important to practice humility because, my goodness, if there's something that arcs me up, it's dealing with especially male egos. I absolutely can't stand it. You know, like you might go, well, Ben, you got a lot of experience in the backcountry. You might think I've got an ego, like, oh, he must think he's a big hot shot. He's got over 1,000 days of hunting in the Southern Alps on public land. No, I get humbled almost every mission. Hunting is a way of life that you can never master. And if you think you're good at hunting, then you haven't been humbled enough. So I'm never going to sit here and be, oh, I'm an amazing hunter and like, look at me. And, you know, I'm a part of the top 10% that shoots 90% of the deer, like some stupid facts that some of these American hunters spit out on social media. It's like, come on, man. You are likely paying for your success. You're either hunting on private land or you're cutting corners and it's smoke and mirrors. So anyway, I'm never going to say that. But I just wanted to finish with a couple points. Why I hunt and then why I make these films. So I'll start with why I make these films is I think it's really important to represent hunting in New Zealand on public land in the best possible light I can. And we just have the best hunting in the world. Obviously, I'm biased. Amazing landscapes, amazing game animals, native wildlife, just jaw-dropping, like, terrain and the variety of it. Like, it's just amazing. It's next level. So I feel a bit of a responsibility, both in these films and then when I write for Rod and Rifle, is to represent hunting in the best possible light. So if overseas hunters are kind of like, well, what's hunting New Zealand like? Then they might see my stuff if it's not shadow banned, which it may be. It's what it is. So hopefully some people see this film. But they see it and then they go, wow, that looks absolutely amazing. And maybe they weren't into hunting or they are into hunting and they come to New Zealand and they invest money in the economy and it goes full circle. Or it's Kiwis that go, wow, that looks like an amazing way of life. There looks like a lot of positives to that. There are. I want to go hunting and explore the great outdoors. Amazing. Yeah, absolutely amazing. So then the last one I'll finish on is why I hunt. Now, an important thing is there's no one individual is the same. So i.e. no one individual has the same fingerprint. Thus, as hunters, we don't all have the same needs, wants, and goals. So I'd really love it if hunters just stop the bickering and go, everyone's different. Everyone time means different things to them. Everyone has different amount of money and resources that they can invest into hunting. They just want to have the best experience they can have. Now, if it's legal and ethical, do what you want. It's your hunting time, your experience. Go for it. So everyone hunts for different reasons. For me, I hunt purely for the challenge. I chase two certain animals because they, in my opinion, are the hardest animals to find and pursue and then secure. So those are red stags and chamois bucks. And that's just me. I have a high level of intrinsic motivation. So I need an outlet for that. Otherwise, I'm going to go crazy. So hunting for me is that. That's why I do these crazy missions where I walk 20, 25, 30, 40 hours. Like, you know, another mission I haven't detailed, I've walked into the Forgotten River in the Olivine Wilderness area. Massive walking. But I love it because it allows me to express myself, pursue that challenge, so I calm down that high level of intrinsic motivation. And so that's why I head into the hills. Not everyone's going to be like that, nor are some people watching this go, well, I do this, so you should do that. That's like, I'm not going to say that to you. Like, yes, I do chase mature class animals. It's because they're a challenge. Shooting a meat animal for me is really easy. I can go do that on a day trip. It doesn't present that challenge. If I need to do it, I'll go do it, sweet as. But I want the hardest thing possible. So it's the animal and terrain. That's why I spend a lot of time on the coast, is because the terrain is so difficult. And finding the animals is difficult because you've got a hell of a lot of venison recovery. So that's why I do it. So, you know, I'll just leave that with you. Everyone hunts for different needs, wants, and goals. Just let them be. As long as it's legal and ethical, let them be. And for me, again, it's just about the challenge. So that's what it is. I want to represent New Zealand in the best possible light in terms of hunting public land. And I want to pursue the hardest challenge, trying to find the most elusive animal in the hardest country, all by foot. I rarely fly in, and if I fly in, it's because I'm with other people and I'm helping them. But for me, I just want to explore and see what I'm capable of. But nonetheless, I really hope all you have enjoyed this film. Thank you so much for your time. Until next time, have a good one.